Hace pierna derecha, directo al arco. ¡Golazo! ¡Golazo!
The world of football with a soccer perspective. This is Soccer Today with Duane, Rollins and Kevin Laramee, live on the Sports Podcasting Network.
And good day, good night, and welcome to Soccer Today for September 27th, 2017. We'll start the show today by talking a little bit about a rumor that is getting a lot more traction, especially since late last night, Glenn Crooks, play-by-play for WFAN, The Fan, New York City radio for New York City FC, is in town, and he tweeted last night how one of his sources is telling him that Nesta is to replace Biello. Yes, Alessandro Nesta, former superstar in the Champions League Milan and former Montreal Impact player, if we remember, back in 2012-2013, now head coach for Miami FC in the NASL since its beginning, since 2015. The rumor is Nesta will take over for Biello in the off-season, and this mixed with the rumors of a few weeks ago where apparently the Impact called Nesta and inquired about his availabilities. So that was reported by Nicolas Martineau of TVA Sport a few weeks ago. So those two rumors combined, we'll see what happens. But it's multiple sources now that are saying that Alessandro Nesta could take over for Mauro Biello in the offseason for 2018. So let's take a look at Alessandro Nesta's coaching career so far with the Miami FC, because I think it's important to see what's out there, right? And the record is a bit biased in my opinion, just because of the nature of Miami FC, the nature of the NASL, and the nature of the roster that Nesta had compared to the rest of the league. We'll take a look at the roster a little later on, and even if you're just a Major League Soccer fan, you would have heard some of those names. That's how good the roster is in Miami. Alessandro Nesta started coaching with Miami FC after a few years vacation after his playing career with the Montreal Impact. Since 2015, he has coached 63 games for Miami FC in the NASL. 31 wins, 14 draws, and 18 losses. 100 goals scored, 100 goals conceded, and a winning percentage of 49.21%. So, every 2 games, Nesta wins 1. But that's with Miami, and that's with an NASL roster that is a bit superior than other ones. And I say a bit, maybe being conservative here. So I think we have to be careful before we extrapolate anything off this roster and this rumor of Nesta coaching Montreal. Star power, maybe it does help man management at a certain level, higher level. I don't know, tactically Mauro Biello is far ahead of Nesta, you would think, just by experience as a coach. Nesta as a player, the level he played, the type of player he was, and the mind for the game that he did have in Italy back in the day and in the Champions League and Europe, does make maybe for a great coaching mind too. So would it be like an upgrade? And I just want to put the caveat out there. It's always terrible talking about, like, it's human beings, it's jobs and life. So we're not wishing anything ill on anyone, and we're not wishing this to happen here. But we're just talking about the rumor here. So Nesta, as manager of the Montreal Impact, what would be the big difference? Would it be easier to attract DPs, and maybe at a bargain, could the hiring of a Nesta potentially convince player to come here for maybe a little less money than they ask for right now? And could that go all into the plan of, hey, maybe putting the best team we can out there, but trying to save money where we can as well? Because it's a salary cap league, and Joey Saputo has been honest saying that he wants to recoup some of the investment that he made over the years, and he wants to make the Montreal Impact a profitable team, and still not. So it is about money as well. So if you hire a Nesta, and yes, it's going to cost you a premium, but your investment on your coach is not included in the salary cap, so it doesn't really matter. So you sign a Nesta, okay? Hypothetically. Then does it help you convince other players to come play for Nesta? Does it help the transition for maybe some Italian? And when you're looking at Nesta, it's not just Nesta coaching Miami FC. You have to look at the coaching staff with him, and you have Robinacci, his assistant coach, is a journeyman coach and former player from Italy as well, that has helped him a lot to do the transition from player to retired to coach, and the head coach as well to start. So he did surround himself with a credible and competent team of staff. Former Montreal Impact strength and conditioning coach as well, Paolo Paccioni from Montreal, is the strength and conditioning coach for Miami FC, by the way. So what does this mean? Good question. I don't know yet. We don't know yet. There's 4 games left. You got New York tonight. You got Colorado on Saturday. Then we got the break. We got TFC. And we got New England. 3 wins, 1 draw is the bare minimum to keep some barely breathing hopes alive for the Montreal Impact for the 2017 playoff spot. So we'll take a look at the schedule right now for Major League Soccer, actually, because it's a busy night. It's a busy day in the world of soccer with the Champions League. And we'll come back after the break later on and talk about yesterday's Champions League's results, today's amazing games as well. And it's kind of serendipitous because you have like Chelsea playing Atletico. Chelsea Atleti. After just the Chelsea, the Costa saga has been resolved. Who writes this stuff? It's so weird. Things happen. But in Major League Soccer tonight, yes, some of those games do have an implication for the standings, especially in the Eastern Conference. And the game the Montreal Impact fan will want to keep an eye on is not just Montreal, New York City at 7:30, but it's the one that's happening in Harrison, New Jersey as well. Every Montreal Impact fan should be rooting for DC United tonight. DC United is playing twice against New York, and they're playing against Columbus as well down the stretch. So Montreal fans need to cheer for DC. DC, put that monkey in the ranch. Beat New York, please. And then, come on, add the bonus and beat the Crew. Let's go, DC. You can do it. Benny and the boys. Ben Olsen's. Come on. Put Billy Me, finish the drama, and saves the... actually, Patrick Mullins voted player of the week for last week for his 4-goal performance midweek for DC. Going back to games tonight in Major League Soccer, Orlando, New England. And that's interesting, too, because if Orlando gets a result, like, they're still not quite out of it. They go... well, now they are. They'll go to 39, but they can eliminate New England's chances for sure. If New England doesn't get a win tonight, well, it's all over. You're barely, because they're 1 point behind Montreal. New England's got 38 points. They got 4 games remaining. Montreal's got 39 points. They got 4 games remaining. The amount of wins is equal together, but Montreal does have the goal differential and goal force tiebreaker versus New England. So if New England is to lose to Orlando, basically both of those teams are not mathematically, but they're technically eliminated from the playoff race, and they have been so for a few weeks. Let's be honest here. Montreal is under a necessity of win tonight. Yes, it's at home. It's NYCFC. NYCFC's got 52 points. Will they rest some players ahead of the weekend's game? And that is a fair question. Will we see it? Good question. We kind of hope so. And hopefully Montreal can get the result tonight and move on. But again, statistically speaking, Montreal needs to play better in their 4 games than they have been the entire season. They have been difficulty putting results together outside of those 4 wins, 4 loss streaks that we just seen. Montreal needs a win. Montreal needs 3 points. And a game where nobody gets injured, everybody gets momentum. Actually, you take advantage of the game quite early so you can rest players. That's the ideal scenario. Like, the perfect scenario for tonight would be that. Will we see it? I don't know. The other perfect scenario is DC United beats New York. And that is almost a necessity as well for Impact fans. Going a little later, 8 p.m. tonight, FC Dallas, Colorado in the Western Conference. Both teams struggling. FC Dallas, might miss the playoffs. It's far cry from being top of the West, eh? Whatever happened to Dallas? Did those player personnel movement mid-season, those academy players sold to maybe bigger and better things for them, but for the club, we'll see. And the lack of form of their DP have created a landslide where just keep falling down the standings. So what's going to happen for Dallas? We'll see. But that game is a game of maybe two teams that will miss the playoff in the Western Conference. Speaking of a team missing the playoff, the LA Galaxy are traveling to Houston. Yes, Houston is having a decent season, but still in jeopardy of missing the playoff. They're tied on points with San Jose. San Jose 6th right now. Houston Dynamo 7th. They do have a game in hand. So Houston needs to perform well tonight at home against LA and prove that they are indeed worthy of that 6th spot in the Western Conference. Other games tonight to finish the MLS midweek preview. We have the Seattle Sounders versus the Vancouver Whitecaps Cascadia Derby late tonight, 10:30 Eastern and 7:30 Pacific. Can Vancouver continue their Western Conference leading streak, momentum, wave of success? Can they continue? Or is Seattle going to prove that they're able to play with the big boys and bridge that 4-point gaps by 3 and become part of the conversation of the best teams in the Western Conference? With a win tonight, we're talking about an all-Cascadia battle for the top of the Western Conference of Vancouver, Portland, and Seattle only could be a point difference. And the night finishes off in San Jose with the San Jose Earthquakes 6 in the Western Conference facing the unfortunate Chicago Fire. After a hot start, they are now sliding a bit down the standings. Are they in jeopardy? Maybe not. I think their racking of points early on in the season has guaranteed them a playoff spot. They're on 48th. 4th in the Eastern Conference. They should be okay. Columbus was going on a streak, but they have one game more played. So you do have Chicago 48 and Columbus 47 points in the Eastern Conference. Chicago tonight, it's going to be a tough travel. It's always a tough travel to go to Avaya Stadium. And we will see if Chicago can continue or maybe restart their hopes and momentum, and that's where, like, 4 games left, that's where usually, like Seattle's, Toronto, Montreal last year, you get hot, you go on a momentum, you start playing and winning, then you go into the playoff hot. So it's now or never to either qualify or get hot to get in the playoff in the right position. So are we saying the Fire needs to get hot? Yeah, if you want to have success in the playoffs in 2017. We'll be right back with some Champions League talk.
You are listening to Soccer Today. Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTodaySPN and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sports Podcasting Network. You can find the podcast version of all the shows we do on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Store, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you get your podcast.
And we're back on Soccer Today. Kevin Laramee. You can follow me on Twitter at Kev Laramee. Thanks for listening live as well on YouTube. As always, you can find our YouTube links on our social media at SportsPodNet, at Soccer Today SPN, Facebook.com/Sports Podcasting Network, and on YouTube, just look for Sports Podcasting Network and Soccer Today. Champions League. Interesting day yesterday. Quite some good result. We saw Real Madrid and Cristiano Ronaldo, the brace, and 3-1 for Madrid at Dortmund. Napoli avenged their first Champions League game slip, and they beat Feyenoord at home 3-1, and they were honoring Malik, who's been injured. And you know what? Kind of like it's all good that you're thinking of your teammate after he gets injured, but it's becoming a farce now. Like, come on. Let's move on. It's becoming like, come on, guys. He's going to be fine. He's just out for a few months. Like, come on. It's a waste of t-shirts. Apoel and Tottenham. Tottenham on the road with a big victory, 3-0 yesterday. Besiktas Leipzig. Besiktas with Canadian Atiba Hutchinson won 2-0 at home, and it was a dominating performance by the Turkish big club. Spartak Moscow and Liverpool. Moscow with a big result at home, 1-1 against Liverpool. Yes, Coutinho did perform really well, but it wasn't enough, and Moscow got the result that they needed at home, 1-1. Man City, speaking of result that they needed, beat Shakhtar Donetsk, hands down, 2-0. Man City taking a hold of their group, and the shocker result of the day. Nobody was expecting this type of performance, but you know, when you look deep down in the transfer of Monaco in this offseason, they kind of were stripped of their firepower. Only Falcao left, and Falcao against Porto did not produce the results needed. FC Porto with 3 goals on the road, 3-0 victory for Monaco. Defeat Porto on top 3-0 yesterday in the Champions League. Today, another round of great games, and it's a fascinating Champions League year in, year out, and we have a bit of different type of team this year. The return of Man United, and you have like other teams, Tottenham and stuff. So it is an interesting year for me for the Champions League, and it's not just because Chelsea are back. Maybe it does add a little bit, but speaking of Chelsea, Atletico, Chelsea, serendipitous matchup where the Diego Costa saga finally comes to a conclusion. Diego Costa, loan / will be transferred eventually. It's going to take effect on January 1st, 2018, but he will be rejoining Atletico in January, and will probably be unveiled today at the stadium before the Champions League matchup of Atletico versus Chelsea. Morata, that's what I'm interested to see. Morata versus Atletico. Morata just scored 4 against Stoke. So yeah, I am stoked of watching Chelsea this afternoon. CSKA Moscow, aka Red Army, versus Manchester United at 2:45 as well. Anderlecht Celtic, a salivating matchup. Anderlecht, one of the top teams in the Belgium Premier Super League, I think, versus Celtic, the best team in Scottish football. By the way, Rangers and a man of the match yesterday. Who was it? Yesterday or was Sunday? It was yesterday. It was Junior Holat. Canadian content right there. But Anderlecht Celtic today. FC Basel, one of the best teams in Belgium. Again, FC Basel, Switzerland. The best team in Switzerland. FC Basel. Bâle, if you prefer. Versus Benfica in Switzerland. That game will be interesting. Juventus, which his president just got suspended, banned for a year for alleged ticket scalping to alleged ultras / mafia linked supporters, and profit were made off of those. So Juventus president suspended, but Juventus is playing Olympiacos today in Turin. And Paris Saint-Germain, PSG, their first big test of the Neymar era. Can Neymar and Cavani coexist to take on Bayern Munich? That will happen today at Parc des Princes, and that is quite a matchup. And again, another used matchup. Sporting Lisbon, Sporting Portugal versus Barcelona, 2:45 p.m. Eastern. What am I going to do? How can I watch 5 games at once? I don't know, but I think my DVR will be very useful this afternoon, because I want to see Chelsea and Atletico. I want to see Madrid and Chelsea, exactly. Sporting Barcelona, PSG, Bayern. Damn, son. Red Army and Man United. Even excited to see Karabakh FC in Roma. You know, Roma, legendary club from Rome, obviously. Home that Totti built. versus the first ever club to make the Champions League off of Azerbaijan, Karabakh, that lost like 6-0 to Chelsea first time around a few weeks ago. But it was still an honor for them to just be in the Champions League. Now, Roma at home in Azerbaijan. It's a tough travel. Like, all the games are fun. How am I supposed to watch everything? Jeez. Thanks for DVR. We'll be right back.
Come on.
You are listening to Soccer Today. Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTodaySPN and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sports Podcasting Network.
I want to finish the show today by rapping. No, of course, I'm not going to rap live for you all because, well, I'll lose every one of you. I want to talk about Gareth Barry. Gareth Barry just surpassed Ryan Giggs as the all-time longevity record holder in the Premier League. 633 games played in the Premier League for Gareth Barry. He started with Aston Villa and parted ways with Villa in 2009. Went to City, won the league with City, went to Everton on loan, and this offseason now joined West Brom and is very influential in all his team. And it's a record that a lot of players are saying will never be broken, or at least it'll take a long time before we see this record broke. 633 games in the Premier League. If you divided by this by kind of like 40, because it's close to 40. So if you divided this by 40, that's a lot of seasons. It's a lot of game. It's a lot of a longevity, a lot of time where you're not injured. And it's a testament to, I don't want to say toughness, but it's a testament to his preparation to games, how he kept his body, how he was one of the most underrated players as well. He was influential in every part of his career, every club he played with. So Gareth Barry, my man of the day, record holder. To put this in perspective, it's tough to put it in perspective in North America because I don't think we'll ever see a player play 633 games in one of our leagues. Basically, it's a player who needed to start like in 34. If you put 34 games a year, it's like 3, 6, like 20 seasons. It's like 19 season and a half. MLS is 22 years old, so I don't think we'll. It's gonna take a while before we see this replicated anywhere. But Gareth Barry, hats off to you, and to everyone. You can follow us on Twitter at SoccerTodaySPN, at SportsPodNet. Duane will be back tomorrow. He was poor Duane got himself into some pain and hope you're on the mend, Duane. A little injury. Has been injured. He's on the IR for a 24-hour period. Duane will be back tomorrow, unless the technical staff decides otherwise. Where we'll have the trainer looking at Duane, and if his injuries are okay, he'll be back on the show tomorrow. But until then, I'm Kevin Laramee, and as always, have a great soccer.
You can find the podcast version of all the shows we do on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Store, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you get your podcast.